Hello. So today's a new day, and there is something that I would like to discuss. Um, First thing is first, there's a game that I've been playing called The First Tree, and it was published on Steam a while ago. It was released, I should say, on Steam a while ago, and it is a beautiful, beautiful game. Um, and I thought I would mention it because it might come up in conversation at some point during the video. So today I wanted to talk about death and acceptance. Um, they can be two completely different things and yet still have a similarity between them. Yesterday was my grandma's birthday, and if I remember correctly, I may have mentioned it in one of my videos, but if not, yesterday was her birthday, and she would have been 76 years old. That's where the death comes in. On August 1st, it'll be 2 years since her death. And as spoken about in my first video, I believe she's immortal, to certain extents. But death is never an easy thing. I remember the first death I ever experienced. I was 6 years old and I came home to my beloved hamster, dead in his cage. I loved him with all of my heart, and it took me about 3 years until I was able to talk about him again without crying. His name was Hammy. His real first name was supposed to be Blackberry, but it turned into Hammy. He was the sweetest hamster ever, no biting or anything. He was really nice. Throughout the years, I have experienced other family members passing away, but none of them really hit me. I saw it affect others around me, but I was never affected by it. I wasn't close enough to them in order for it to affect me. Until the month of October 2015, I believe. I heard that my favorite teacher had been diagnosed with brain cancer, and it was inoperable, and she was only given 2 weeks to live. I found out that she had passed away on October 27th, and I believe that was a Friday, or not a Friday, a Saturday. And the weeks leading up to her death, I mourned her. So when I found out that she had passed, I didn't know what to feel. It felt like I had felt nothing at all. Did I accept it? I couldn't tell. Then January came around, and I was laying down, my head on my grandma's lap as we watched TV, and I started to cry. I asked her if I was a bad person. I told her how I didn't feel sad when I learned that my teacher had passed. And she told me in a very serious but very gentle tone that I wasn't a bad person at all. That we all just handle things and mourn differently. I do apologize for the shaky voice. I'm not going to remake this video just so that way I don't have a shaky voice. This is a very sensitive topic for me. And I believe in the idea of being at least a little bit real with the videos. That being said, I mourned her death that day and no longer felt bad about how I handled it. And I believe that I continued to mourn for a while longer after that. I don't remember when it stopped. But that time for sure, I had accepted that she had passed, and I also accepted the way that I mourn. But as I would find out with my own grandma's death later on, I would have a much more difficult time accepting her death. I mourned on my own, not letting anyone see me cry. I was the strong one who held neatly together, while everyone else was having a hard time. And when the time came, I sealed myself off even more, not wanting to spend time with anyone at all, and definitely not at a place I stopped calling home the day she went into the hospital. I knew she wouldn't be coming back. Not her normal self, anyway. I knew it right away, but I refused to accept it for a really long time. Especially since for the first week she had more good days than she did bad. The doctors would come in and ask her how she was feeling that day, and she would go, "I feel better already, I feel great." But as the second week rolled around, the good and the bad were about equal. And then the bad just kept creeping until there were no more good days. I remember the day that I did accept that she wasn't coming back. She had told me that she wasn't really there. I was sitting with her, talking to her, and she said, "Gabby, I'm not really here." So when there was nobody else in the room, I told her that I was letting her go and that it was okay. I told her that I had told God the night before that he could have her now. I used to tell her that God couldn't have her. I used to tell God that he couldn't take her away from me. That I needed her and that he just couldn't have her. But the night she told me that she wasn't really there, early morning, I said, "Okay, God, you can have her now. I'll let her go. You can have her." And after I had told her that I was letting her go, I remember that, at least to me, she slipped away even more after that. And she passed away maybe about a week or two after. I told her on a Wednesday. I remember that. I remember I told her on a Wednesday. She passed on a Monday, so about 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks later. Maybe not even. Anyway, I remember thinking that I had killed her. That I was the reason that she wasn't coming back. I gave up on the one person I ever told in my entire life that I would never give up on or stop fighting for. Logically, I knew that I didn't have that kind of power. I'm not a superhuman, I don't have that kind of power, but I couldn't help but feel that way. But had I really accepted it at all? Her getting sick, her death? In all honesty, no. I wanted to, but I felt bad for doing so. I felt bad for telling myself that it was something that needed to happen, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have had my friends over for my birthday, and we wouldn't have had a good day that day. I wouldn't have made friends with Nick, who helped me fight depression and would later become my boyfriend for a year and a half, and who I'm still really good friends with. I felt bad for thinking that way, and I still do from time to time. But I wouldn't have grown into who I am now if she hadn't passed away. And who I am now, I'm a better person. I'm more independent. I'm more adult. I think differently. And that wouldn't have happened if she didn't pass away. So have I accepted it? I'm getting there. Each day is better and better. But I still really miss her from time to time. And of course, there are the days that aren't good at all. Have I let her go? Again, I'm getting there. And when I miss her, I make up a memory with her like Nick taught me in the past. So I'll think of our favorite place to go eat, or I'll think of us sitting on the couch, and I'll make up a memory with her, which is really nice. It helps. It does help. But I remember something that he used to tell me. He used to say that letting go does not mean forgetting. Letting go does not mean that it never happened. When something has happened, it will always exist, and that's what's important. It doesn't mean that you're going to forget. And it doesn't mean that it never happened, that it never existed. And that's the important thing to remember. But the last thing that he had said was that letting go means that you are now free. Being free is definitely something to ponder. In what way am I free? And I think that's honestly something that needs to be answered by everyone individually. How am I free? How is letting this go made me free? How is letting this go made the other person free? Am I any good at letting go? No, not yet. Not yet. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And that leads me to a question. Is letting go different for each situation or person? Possibly so. My techniques for accepting and letting go of my grandma is different from my technique for letting go and accepting that Nick and I are no longer dating. My grandma passed away, and Nick is still around. We still see and talk to each other. Not as much as we had when we were dating, but I still talk to him, I still play games with him. He's still around. He's still around. But is the process the same? The feelings sure seem the same. But are the feelings also different? Those are some good questions to ponder, in my honest opinion. Because when you start asking questions, especially those kind, you can surely get some answers from within yourself. They can get they can come from somebody else a little bit. Like if you talk to someone else about the idea of what I just asked, is the process the same? Are the feelings the same or different? But you can only ever truly, I think, answer those questions for yourself. And that's something that I myself am in the process of trying to figure out. So we'll see. But that concludes the time for this video. I have another one coming up called Letting Go and a Thought. So I'm going to continue my discussion about letting go.